Hello students, this is Zinali Shah from Saraswat International Academy. Today we will begin with the second chapter of biology, that is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. We know that flower, it is a reproductive part of the plant which plays the important role in the sexual reproduction. How can we define a flower? Flower, it is a modified shoot which develops from the floral primordia. Primordia are the group of the meristematic cells. First of all, the primordia will form a floral bud which later gets converted into the flower. Now we know that total there are four parts of the flower which are seated on a structure which is called as the thalamus. So all the floral parts are seated on a structure which is called as the thalamus. Now all these floral parts are arranged concentrically on the thalamus. Beginning from the outer floral part, the first part of the flower, it is the sepal. The group of the sepal forms a calyx. Inner to the calyx is a group of a petal which is called as the corolla. Now these two parts of the flower are not directly involved in the sexual reproduction of the flowering plants, and therefore these parts are called as non-essential parts of the flower. Now inner to the corolla arises the male reproductive part of the flower which is called as the androecium, and its unit is called as the stamen. And inner to stamen arises the female reproductive part of the flower which is called as the gynoecium, whose individual unit is called as the pistil. Now, these two parts, one is androecium which is the male reproductive part, and another one is the gynoecium which is the female reproductive part of the flower. Together they are called as the reproductive parts of the flower or the essential parts of the flower, because these are the parts which are directly involved in the sexual reproduction in a flowering plants. Now androecium, which is a male reproductive part, is made up of a group of structure called as a stamen, whereas gynoecium, which is a female reproductive part, it is made up of a group which is called as the carpel. Now, first of all, we know there are different uses of the flower, but when we talk about a biologist, for them flowers, they are the morphological and embryological marvels, and they are the site of the sexual reproduction in the plants. Now, first of all, we will deal with the male reproductive part of the flower, and this male reproductive part of the flower, what is it called as? The male reproductive part of the flower, it is called as the androecium, and its unit are called as the stamen. Now this stamen consists of the two parts. One part is the filament and another one is the anther. Now see, you can clearly see the diagram of the stamen. In this you can see this is a complete stamen. Now at the below portion there is a stalk-like structure. This stalk-like structure of a stamen is called as a filament. Now tip of the filament bears a lobed structure, and this lobed structure on the tip of the filament is called as the anther. Now this anther and filament, they are connected by a short structure, and that short structure is called as a connective. Now basically the main part of the stamen, it is the anther. What is the main part of the stamen? This is the main part of the stamen which is called as the anther, and this anther will contain the microspores which will develop the male gametes essential for the sexual reproduction. Now, first of all, we will study in detail the structure of the anther. Now, how the anther is structurally found. So basically anther, it is also called as the microsporangium. Each anther is a bilobed structure, that is it consists of two lobes, and each lobe will have two theca. That structure is called as a dithecus. So anther, it is a bilobed and dithecus structure. Now these two lobes are separated by a longitudinal groove. There is a longitudinal groove which separates the theca of the anther. Now when we talk about the cross section of the anther, you will see that it is tetragonal in structure, which means it is four-sided structure, and each side consists of the four microsporangia at the corners, and of these four microsporangia, two are present in each lobe. Later, this microsporangia develops into the pollen sac. So, basically, see the diagram, it will be clear to you the structure of the anther. It is a bilobed structure, and each lobe consists of how many theca? Two theca. So this is one lobe, this part is one lobe of the anther, here is the other lobe. Now each lobe consists of the two theca. So these are the two theca present on one side, and these are the two theca of the other side. So it appears that there are two lobes, and each lobe consisting of the two thecas. So that is called as the ditheca structure. Now when we consider a detailed structure of the anther, so we can say that anther, it is circular in outline and it is surrounded by the four layers wall. Now these four layers are epidermis, endothecium, middle layers and tapetum. These are the layers arranged from outer side to inner side, which means epidermis is the outermost part of the anther wall. Inner to epidermis is endothecium, inner to endothecium is middle layer, and finally it is the tapetum. Out of this, the outer three layers, that is epidermis, endothecium and middle layer, they are protective in function, that is they protect the pollen grains which are developed within the pollen sac, and finally they also play very important role in dehiscence of the anther. Dehiscence means to break the anther so that the pollen grains could be released. So we will see the structure of the anther. So here you can see that it is circular in outline. In this diagram, you can see how many layers are there? Four layers. Which are those layers? Outer one is epidermis, inner to epidermis is endothecium, then there is the middle layer, and the innermost layer of the anther, it is called as the tapetum. Now, the main part of out of the four walls, the innermost wall of the anther, what is it called as? It is called as the tapetum. Now what is the function of the tapetum? The main function of the tapetum is to provide the nourishment to the developing pollen grains. The cells of the tapetum have the dense cytoplasm and have more than one nucleus. Now, when the anther is young, it consists of the group of compactly arranged homogeneous cells, which is called as the sporogenous tissue, and this sporogenous tissue occupies the center of each of the microsporangium. So, in the center of the microsporangium, these are the microsporangium. Now, in this microsporangium, there is a group of a cell which is called as the sporogenous tissue. So, here occurs the sporogenous tissue, and this sporogenous tissue will later form the pollen grains. So, now the process of formation of the microspores or pollen grain, and that process is called as the microsporogenesis. So what is microsporogenesis? The process of formation of the microspores from the pollen mother cell through the meiosis, very important, it is called as the microsporogenesis. Now how that occurs? So all the cells of the sporogenous tissue, we have studied what is sporogenous tissue. It is a group of compactly arranged cells in the center of each microsporangium. So the cells of the sporogenous tissue, they undergo the meiotic division and form the group of 4 cells, which is called as the microspore tetrad. Now, as each cell of the sporogenous tissue has the potential to form a microspore tetrad, each cell is called as the microspore mother cells. So, cell of the sporogenous tissue, they have the capacity to form the microspore tetrad, and so such cells are called as the microspore mother cells, which divide by meiosis to form the 4 haploid microspores, or also it is called as the pollen, by the process of the meiosis. Now, initially, all the 4 microspores, they are attached to each other and are arranged in the cluster of 4 cells. So, this cluster of 4 cells, it is called as the microspore tetrad. Now, as the anther matures and as it dehydrates, this microspore, they dissociate from each other and finally will form the pollen grains. Now, each microspore consists of thousands of each microsporangium consists of thousands of microspores, and these pollen grains, as the anther dehisces, they will be liberated into the atmosphere. So, that is the diagrammatic representation of microsporogenesis. This is a 1 microspore mother cell which undergoes the first meiotic division, resulting into the formation of 2 cells. This group of 2 cells is called as microspore dyad, which undergoes the second meiotic division, resulting into the formation of the microspore tetrad. Now, what happens? So, this is the process of the microsporogenesis. The name itself suggests genesis, it means formation. So, microsporogenesis, it is the formation of the microspore from the microspore mother cells by the process of the meiosis. That process is called as the microsporogenesis. Now, through microsporogenesis, what is formed? Microspore or pollen grain. So, now we will study the detailed structure of the pollen grain. This pollen grain represents the male gametophyte. We know gametophyte is a structure which is responsible for the formation of the gametes. So, pollen grain, which represents the male gametophyte, will be responsible for formation of the male gamete. Now, when we talk about the structure of the pollen grains, how are pollen grains? Pollen grains, they are haploid and uninucleated cells which are spherical in shape and measures about 25 to 50 micrometers in diameter. Now, these pollen grains have 2-layered wall. The outer wall is hard, which is called as the exine, and the inner wall is thin, which is called as the intine. So, diagrammatically we will see this is a structure of the pollen grain. So, inner wall of the pollen grain, it is called as the intine, and outer wall of the pollen grain, it is called as the exine. Now, how are intine and exine formed? So, first of all, we will deal with the exine. Exine is made up of an organic material which is called as the sporopollenin, which is a highly resistant organic material. This can withstand high temperatures and strong alkali as well as acid. That is, they are unaffected at higher temperatures as well as they are unaffected in the presence of strong acids and alkalis. No enzyme that degrades sporopollenin is still not known. Now, at certain places in the exine, sporopollenin is absent, and there you can find the apertures. So, it has a prominent apertures at some places, and these apertures are called as the germ pores. So, what are germ pores? They are the regions in the exine where sporopollenin is absent. Very important function of the germ pore is the intine layer, which is the inner layer of the pollen grain. It forms a pollen tube which needs to be come out. So this pollen tube, which is formed from the intine, it comes out through the germ pores. Now pollens are very well preserved as the fossils because of the presence of sporopollenin, and the arrangement of the sporopollenin, or you can say that exine, it exhibits the fascinating array of pattern and design, that is the number of germ pores, the structure of the germ pores, and ornamentation, that is the design of the exine layer is different for the different species. Now the next layer of the pollen grain is called as the intine. So what is intine? It is the inner wall of the pollen grain, which is a continuous layer. It is a thin layer and made up of a material which is called as the cellulose and pectin. Now this intine, it forms pollen. When it germinates, it forms the pollen tube, and this pollen tube will come out through any one of the germ pore which is present on the exine layer of the pollen grain. So these are the two layers of the pollen grains. The outer layer is called as the exine and the inner layer of the pollen grain is called as the intine. So you can see the diagram of the pollen grain. This is the outer layer which is exine and made up of the sporopollenin. Now you can see the design of the exine. It is different. Now here these are the regions where you can say that there is no presence of the sporopollenin. These regions are called as what? They are called as the germ pore. Now inner to the exine is the layer of the intine which is made up of the cellulose and pectin. So that is regarding the structure of the pollen grain. Now, from the pollen grain, the male gametes are developed. So, how the pollen grains forms the male gamete? That is very important. So, pollen grain which represents the male gametophyte will be responsible for the formation of the male gamete. Now, here you can see the development of the male gamete. How the male gamete will develop. So, this is a pollen grain. Now this pollen grain, it divides mitotically and it forms the two cells. One cell is a large cell which is called as a vegetative cell, and another one is a small cell which is called as a generative cell. Now what happens? This generative cell again undergoes mitotic division and it forms the two cells. These two cells are nothing but they represent the male gamete. Now this process will take place after the process of pollination have taken place on the stigma. Now due to pollination, the pollen germinates and it forms the pollen tube. So all these three cells, one is vegetative cell and the remaining two are the male gametes. They come inside the pollen tube, and this pollen tube will carry the male gamete to the female reproductive part of the flower. So, pollen grain, it is a structure whose cytoplasm is surrounded by a plasma membrane. As I told you that there are two cells in the pollen grain. One is the vegetative cell and another one is a generative cell. The bigger cell which has the reserve food material and a irregular nucleus is a vegetative cell, and a small cell which is spindle shaped and has a dense cytoplasm, it is called as the vegetative cells. Now we know that pollen grains have to be liberated. So in 40% of the species, the pollen grains are liberated in the two cell stage. That is, they are liberated when it consists of the vegetative cells and the generative cells. Whereas in the remaining 40% of the species, the pollen grains, they are liberated in a three cell stage. That is, it is a stage where the generative cell divides mitotically to form the two male gametes. So the three cells are two male gamete along with the vegetative cells. So as pollen grain, it is responsible for the formation of the two male gamete. It is represented as a male gametophyte. Now there are certain facts about the pollen grains. So which are the certain facts? There are pollens of some plant species which present in the air. It causes the allergy and certain bronchial afflictions. So they are the structures which are responsible for causing allergy, and such pollens are the allergens. In some people, the allergic pollens, they cause the respiratory disorders like asthma and bronchitis. The pollens of Parthenium, which is commonly called as a carrot grass, is one of the potent allergen responsible for causing the allergy in the human beings. Now, there are some pollens which are edible. Pollen grains, they are rich in nutrients. Now these pollens are available in the tablets, and these tablets can be used as the food supplements. Western countries have the pollen products available in the form of the tablets and syrups. It is claimed that the consumption of the pollen tablets can increase the performance of the athletes, as well as it can also increase the performance of the race horses. Now, the period for which the pollen grains remain viable. We know that pollens, once they are shed, after shedding they need to germinate. They remain living for certain period of the time. They remain viable for the certain period of time. So the period for which the pollen remains viable varies from species to species, and this period of viability depends on the temperature and humidity. Certain examples are given that in rice and wheat, after the 30 minutes of their shed, they lose their viability. That is, after 30 minutes, once they are shed, they need to germinate. If they do not germinate, then they are not responsible for the sexual reproduction. Now, there are certain members of the Rosaceae, Leguminosae and Solanaceae family. The pollens of all this family, they maintain their viability for the months. Now, there are pollen banks developed. So, what is a pollen bank? We can store the pollen grains of certain species in a liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees Celsius for years. This stored pollen can be used as the pollen banks and can be used in the crop breeding program. So these are the certain facts of the pollen grains. So here we come to the end of our lecture, that is the sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. Today we have deal with the male reproductive part of the flower. In next lecture we will deal with the female reproductive part of the flowers. Thank you.